All right, good evening, all. Good evening. It's 8 o'clock here in the very chilly Caribbean, believe it or not. Possibly around 25 degrees Celsius, but that's enough long talk. We have here today the first of many conversations that I think we're going to have with some of our leaders. A frank, fair conversation, nonetheless. With in the house, we've got the Honorable Minister, Donville, Inniss, and my surprise guest I told you nothing about really, the lovely Crystal Howell is here as well, and I know she has some questions that I figure we'll have the minister, I guess,
Cat Sparrow?
not Cat Spraddle,
I
rewardedly being in the hot seat. This isn't meant to embarrass the minister. Again, you guys have asked for it. You asked for a frank, fair discussion with a minister, with a leader in our community, more importantly. And I'm quite sure, given the reputation that he does have, that this conversation will be fair. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you, Crystal,
Hi.
Jeremy, and others, and of course the listeners of the Facebook. I look forward to the engagement this evening.
And the minister said that he came from awake, so we want to make sure he's awake, right? Tonight, especially. So, like the timeline today, or rather the segments today, are very simple. This first half hour, Crystal and I will be having a conversation with you. 5 questions basically, and we'll feed off of each other there that we want to cover that we think would be a good preface for the audience. Again, it's all about fairness, all about issues and solutions on this show. The next half hour, going into the next hour, you guys get to call in, and for some reason, because my memory's bad, somebody has to remind me about this number once more. Richie, help me out there, boy. Producer or somebody help me out there. I can never remember this number. It's on the Facebook page. As unprofessional as this is, forgive me. Let me just go right back. So 825-6536. Again, guys, just add to your WhatsApp the following contact. +1 246 825-6536. We will be taking calls after 8:30. All right, WhatsApp calls. WhatsApp calls. Again, it's about being anonymous. If you fear victimization, and the minister is not that kind of fish, I guess.
I fear victimization.
He fears victimization as well as potholes, if I remember correctly. But I'm sure, nonetheless, if you state your name, you wouldn't be victimized. But if you choose not to, please just call in and we have a conversation after 8:30. If you think the lines are busy, just keep on calling in. We will get to you eventually. We want to take as many calls as possible. 1 question a person, the minister interacts. I hope that's fine enough for you, sir.
That's fine with me.
All right, perfect. So welcome once again. And my first question to you, because ironically, we've got constituencies in this country, and many ministers might be national names, many leaders might be national names, but you would want to focus more in your constituency because it gives you the greater chance of making an impact on the national stage via the voting process and whatnot. But for most Barbadians that have been following you, particularly members of this audience who would be considered as millennials, who is Donville Inniss? Not what, but who are you? Like, why should we as a country respect you outside of your office?
That's I don't know. I think people perhaps ought to know about us besides being a cabinet minister. You know, many of us had a life before being a minister. Many of us do things beyond what we are called upon to do as cabinet ministers. People say that I like to party like the lime. I'm a little loud sometimes, I'm a little wild. But you know, perhaps if you appreciate the fact that I came from Bayfield St. Philip, being born up there on January the 1st, 1966, the 5th of 9 children, 8 of us who are alive today, father fisherman, and mother back then agricultural labor, going to school at St. Catherine's Primary School, you perhaps appreciate that I'm a real down-hole country boy from a very typical working class family. Perhaps I'm now learning later on in life to smooth the edges out a bit. Going on to Harrison College and then to community college, being involved in student politics from a very early age. Matter of fact, when I walked in the studio just now, I said, oh my gosh, this is a far cry from the days when I was doing young people program in Ready Fusion and then going on to CBC in the Pine back then, before going off to Guyana and pursuing my diplomas in youth work in particular and graduating from University of Guyana and then coming back to KFL doing a bachelor's degree in public sector management before moving on to South Korea. Then New York City for a couple of years where he served as a vice consul in Barbados Consul and BIDC officer before coming back here as a young man with a young wife and young child And
Career does that to you.
yes, and then getting on in life, work. I worked as a public servant. As a matter of fact, I always tell people that I was actually a short steward in the NUPW, representing BIDC back in the late 90s, and then moving on into the private sector where I served with several key senior positions in software development firms in particular, and international business company before establishing my own business around the age of 32. I ran that for almost 9 years before entering politics. So that's my life story in a short thing. But along the way, I just love a game of dominoes, love karaoke, love liming, and just enjoying all that Barbados has to offer.
So basically, the man that you would love to drink with and actually talk politics and real issues with, but rather because you have a background very similar to mine, as you would know as well. You're that working class made man, somebody that also respects the people. Is that how you would fashion yourself, or you figure that's a good summary?
That's a good summary.
Yeah. Because no, these are the kind of issues that we want to talk about that would affect working class millennials. Some, like our producer, might not consider himself working class, but for the rest of us, including Crystal in the room, there's certain hot button or hot topics that have come up that we want clarification on. And it's not that I figure we want to victimize, because power, yes, is a dangerous game, but at the end of the day, I at least, and I'm sure Crystal at least respects the fact that as people, you have responsibilities to yourself and also to others close to you and to the nation. So one of the things I wanted to really get onto, and Crystal made sure that I wanted to talk more about it, is how do we ensure a person of your ilk continues to be accountable? Because I heard many positions there that I guess that you had where you were accountable for others. But now I want to see how you were accountable for yourself, and also your feelings with accountability with respect to the entire parliamentary process.
Perhaps I can answer your question by asking what is the concern about accountability. Implicit in your question is that accountability is not a matter taken seriously within the realm of public affairs in Barbados. And perhaps I'm not going to ask you to provide evidence of a lack of accountability.
Oh, that's not even where you want to
go. No, but I mean, accountability is such a broad term. I consider myself very accountable as parliamentary representative to the people of St. James South. I have to report to them, not just every 5 years, but every day, really, in terms of my stewardship and leadership. I think I'm accountable to the taxpayers of Barbados as a cabinet minister tasked with responsibility of managing a portfolio, and therefore I must report to the country periodically in terms of what I do. So I don't know what is the mischief here in terms of accountability. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but perhaps I'm asking for a little bit more meat.
Oh no, please don't worry. The meat is right across the room, right there.
Well, we could start off with the fact that the integrity legislation has yet to be implemented, even though this was something that was promised in the DLP manifesto, and we have not heard as much opposition as we would have liked, even from the BLP. It seems to be an issue that both parties would want to sweep under the carpet. Why has it taken so long? Is it something that is even going to be done before the next general elections are called?
Why do you feel integrity legislation necessary? Why do you feel you need to legislate things in this society? Do you believe that that's the only solution?
I don't believe it's the only solution, but I believe it's the start.
So are you saying that you do not attract men and women of sound integrity to political affairs?
Everybody doesn't always follow morality.
When I saw the draft integrity legislation, I opposed it. I'm bold to say here, I oppose what I saw as draft integrity legislation a few years ago as put forward by the government.
Did you propose an alternative?
Yes, I did, because what was proposed would ensure that we are not able to attract anyone to public life as far as I'm concerned, anyone to serve on the statutory board, because it went so far that even if you are a director of a statutory board in this country, your wife's affair, your children's affair, all of that became somewhat available. And I had questions about who kept this information confidential. You see, if you start out by thinking that those who enter public life are a bunch of thieves and crooks, then I think you're on the wrong path. And I'm not a thief, I'm not a crook.
Oh, trust, I don't think so to begin with, even despite how people may feel out there. That's not my personal thing. And in fact, I don't even want to get personal, but the question about the legislation is more about ensuring the public sees or feels comfortable.
It's taken seriously. So even if you
don't
agree with what was
the
proposed.
other reason why I had a challenge here is I don't know that we don't have integrity legislation ready. People are looking for a collection of documents called Integrity Legislation Act of Barbados or the Integrity Act of Barbados. But right now, if you receive monies for doing somebody a favor, that's a criminal offense in this country. You don't need you don't need any special legislation for that. I think what has happened is that the laws that exist have perhaps not been utilized.
Or enforced.
Or enforced, perhaps.
All right, good. So then, wouldn't that then be the duty of the ruling government to ensure that people are aware of where integrity can be at least accounted for or checked throughout the several laws that we have in this country? You don't want things buried under the table because, unfortunately, at least the constituents that we do have or the audience that we do have has the impression, because of probably lack of knowledge, and this is why it's important to have these conversations, that that there is a need for a central bit of legislation because many of us aren't lawyers, nor many of us don't draft, many of us don't watch Parliament.
And you have to be cognizant of the fact that a lot of people are going to find it difficult to sift through multiple legislations to be able to find out where integrity and accountability is documented, and as a means of being able to enforce when you see bad behavior, having it coming back on track.
Therefore, let's assume that there was integrity legislation, or a document called Integrity Act and the Statute Books of Barbados. What would you be looking for as evidence that that piece of legislation does work?
Well, one of the things which would lead into another question that we would have had is, for instance, when you had the case with the NHC with Dennis Kelman, Chris Sinclair, and Michael Lashley.
The enforceability of the PAC.
Correct.
Yeah,
you
the Public
have
Accounts Committee.
Government ministers who are being called into question for a situation that clearly questioned their integrity, and the response, as opposed to coming forward and trying to clear the air, was to go and get a lawyer and to basically smear the Public Accounts Committee and what it actually represents.
I sit on the Public Accounts Committee, and please permit me,
please,
because there's a lot of misinformation. I think you are absolutely wrong there, Ms. Lowe.
Okay.
Now, when you speak of integrity, what are you defining as integrity? And please don't confuse integrity with a criminal act, per se. I can sit and say you lack integrity because according to my standards, you don't meet them. And you therefore lack
Then what is
integrity.
your definition of integrity?
He's talking about ethics.
No, ethics is another issue.
He's talking about ethics.
But you talk about the Public Accounts Committee, where ministers are being accused of committing a tort, committing a wrong.
Yeah.
The issue is you have the Public Accounts Committee that comes from Parliament. It has to report to Parliament. The issue is, does the Public Accounts Committee have the authority to summon ministers to them to give evidence? Ministers who may very well then have to report back to in Parliament, for example. So part of the issue here is that in the Public Accounts Committee there is a serious lack of clear regulations as to what ought to guide their process. And the matter really has been very corrupt over the time, as I've started, quite frankly. It's really become a political witch hunt in much respect, and not a committee that really sits and seriously pull away the partisan divide and look at matters objectively. If I was a minister and they summons me, I don't think I would go.
You're a part of the same committee that you're saying is corrupt.
I think that because we lack regulations that govern the operation of the Public Accounts Committee, and I've been saying that from the time I sat on it. It is chaired by the leader of the opposition.
So what are the issues that you would need to have clarified or cleared up so that this committee can function in the way that it's intended?
We've asked for regulations that speak to your right, not just to summon individuals, ministers and whatnot, but as, for example, what powers does the chairman really have, what are reporting mechanisms, the processes and procedures that we ought to follow in respect to much of what we do in the committee. For example, I've seen the Public Accounts Committee summons bankers to the committee to give evidence. And then I'm told they have to give evidence in camera, that their evidence cannot be reported on and cannot be laid in Parliament. So you are saying that a banker who's managing the affairs of a private company, whom you accuse of being involved in shenanigans with politicians, can give his evidence in camera, but the politician or other public officers must give it in the full glare. And then there are issues such as the role of public officers, what is the right of individuals to be represented by attorneys. I think the Public Accounts Committee is a very useful tool. But until we have clear and precise regulations and governance work.
And therein lays the problem, though, Minister. Therein lays the problem. All these important governance structures, at least for optics, because I know as a politician, optics are rather important.
Correct.
And from the whole issue of optics, and then there's the general international question about our governance. And as erroneous as some of them can be, there's a lot of issues surrounding that. I even was on a radio show in Jamaica, Nationwide News, which is I guess the second biggest radio station over there, talking about the same issue. And what kept coming up, and I couldn't address it, one of our venerable people, Peter Wickham, kept on addressing it, is the issue of governance and the perceived issue of governance. So these structures that you have in place then, I think probably as a major campaign going forward is to ratify or to solidify the powers that these things, or clarify the powers that these structures do have, even if there's legislation supporting it, or if you can point to precedent before it becomes a judicial matter.
But let me go back to a point that kind of relates to what Crystal was saying tonight. You talk about the works of the PAC and these committees and ministers being involved, etc. Do you appreciate that when it comes to the management of state resources and assets, that permanent secretaries have more powers than ministers?
Yeah.
But there's a school of argument that will come from the other side that permanent secretaries must be protected. A minister does not sign off on payments in the ministry, you know. That is the role of the permanent secretary. There's some of us who argue that perhaps permanent secretaries are too permanent or too protected. You know.
Ironically, I asked for a list of the permanent secretaries, and I honestly did not even know any. So.
Oh no,
but some may argue that that should remain the way it is.
Yeah, to me,
they have to be protected. They have, they survive.
They're not in the public eye. We don't even know what their stances are, but yet they seem at almost every conversation I have, whether it be through ICAB, the Institute of Internal Auditors, all of these institutions, it seems to come back down between the ministers and the persons underneath that. The permanent secretary seems to have the power to make these changes, yet we don't hear from them. And then you have
I think you have to view the minister as a chief policy maker.
Yes.
Pretty much akin to being an executive chairman of a company. And the permanent secretary as the chief accounting officer or CEO of an entity, if we can use that.
No, you set up the trap right there. Because if the board of directors, being the public of Barbados, right, sends an issue or sends a policy or some instruction to the same chief executive officer, it's our chief chairman, he can still coerce the action of a chief accounting officer.
Correct.
And I don't take these words as kindly as I can. Intimidation. Right? You can use intimidation tactics. You can even starve the person of influence, believe it or not, if you have enough people, because we talk in politics, enough people loyal to a party within a particular ministry or within an important department. So, I mean, this may be a big complex issue I'm drawing out here, but I think still the ratification of certain laws and certain legislations, very clear cut, may address this, very simplified, may address this. So even if you don't want to call it integrity legislation, I still think there should be some major bits of legislation going into the next election that every party should be willing to put forward in the name of governance, simplification of governance, separation of powers, all kind of complex issues. I'm quite sure most people here on the feed, and we've got well into near 1,000 now people watching this thing live. You can tell that most of them have these issues, but they're not able to elaborate on them. They might not be as fortunate to have a minister like you who's willing to have these conversations, but at least I feel it would endear people. It would settle a lot of the fears that a lot of the younger voters have. It may even encourage younger voters to come out, because that's a very real issue. And ironically, that's one of my third questions. My third question has to deal with what is the government going to do, or what do you plan to do? Let's start with you. You've been a great communicator, one of the better ones from the government. So I wish more people spoke. I wish the Prime Minister spoke more often. Honestly, as an individual, I wish the Minister of Finance spoke more often. But you've taken that mantle up, and more credit to you.
And it says a lot, because the fact of the matter is that the people voted to hear you. They bypassed the leader, they bypassed the Minister of Finance, which speaks a lot to the faith that they're at least having you to come and fairly say what is going on.
So if there's a mandate,
you said that I may very well have, or you set up a trap, but I tell you the door is wide open. I don't feel trapped.
I pull back on it because my policy is not to endanger or encroach.
No, that is fine. I actually believe that individuals like myself,
Right.
who offer to serve at this level, not as a minister, I didn't offer to serve as a minister, I offer to serve as a parliamentary representative first and foremost. And that when you get into public space, there really is not much called privacy anymore. And I don't run away from that. I think that
It's integrity legislation.
no, I think I ought to be able to face it. But and we can argue to the cow come horns about this thing called integrity legislation. You place integrity legislation in a statute book that says that the assets of individual at all levels must be disclosed to some competent authority and kept for safekeeping and reviewed periodically and whatnot. And you have all sort of related legislation accompanying that. Then you have to please ensure that when you do that you have the resources to effectively police it. But before you get there, ask yourself what are the current deficiencies in the system that we're trying to address.
Right.
When we in opposition, when the Democrat Labour Party in opposition kept speaking of the need for integrity legislation and whatnot, I must confess that I certainly jumped on the bandwagon, but I did not have a full appreciation until later on when the committee was established and I saw the draft legislation as to the extent to which it was reaching. And my question was, do we have systems in place now that can work, and why are they not being utilized? Because I see too often you go and create legislation because you want the boast that you put something on the statute books and it really is not sometimes worth the paper is written on.
I hope you realize that you answered the question that you asked me earlier, if I don't believe that the people of Barbados have integrity. Because the same fear you have that...
No, I believe everybody has integrity.
Then the people who are supposed to keep this information confidential, you don't have faith that they will have integrity to do so.
Oh, I never said that. I never said that.
But you know what?
No, we have to determine who they will be first in system where we can.
You see how important this level of communication is to ensure that people don't have misinformation. Now, for instance, today, what's been going around Facebook, particularly amongst people in our age group, is this memo, this fake memo. The only reason I could see it was fake was because of the little experience I have in terms of receiving public sector memos in the past. But it spread like wildfire. It helped to propagate an entire rumor that civil servants would not have been paid across the board, even if some might have been paid late. But nonetheless, it helps to encroach on people a level of fear that unless somebody speaks to it, the story runs on its own, and you can essentially not have the ability as a government or as a sitting minister or even as a constituency rep at best or parliamentarian to pull it back. So
when a lie gets a head start, it is hard for the truth to catch up.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for those in political class who don't pay attention to the social media and the fact that it works with rapidity to get information there. I was alerted to that memo from public officers in my ministry who came and said, well, I have my bills to pay. I need to be paid. I said, what are you talking about? And they mentioned it to me. I said, but look, I also have my bills to pay and I need to be paid. Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee you that if your money is not in the bank today, it will be there by tomorrow. I have no reasons to believe that there will be any delays in payment. And I checked back this morning, a few of them, and they were all paid.
Right. But
well, now that we're on the topic of being paid,
right,
we want to discuss a bit the fact that the 10% was reinstated.
Oh, yeah. And the message that it sent.
It sent a very negative message because you are one of the higher paid persons
it's not even
in public service.
That is your perception. And
this is not just my perception, this is the perception of a lot of persons in Barbados.
But therefore you got to give me the chance then to give the other side.
No, please,
but if people are not prepared to listen, I hear this argument all the time.
They're prepared.
That ministers are the highest paid people in the country.
No,
Let me
say this
is
not public service.
What should the minister be paid?
I never argued whether you should or should not be
I
the
can tell you what
highest
it
paid.
shouldn't
I'm
be
saying
paid.
that you are some of the higher paid persons in the public service.
Do you believe a minister should make more than a PS?
Oh, jeez.
This is a good
No, I'm asking you honestly. Do you know what a permanent secretary makes? Do you know the role and responsibility of the permanent secretary? Can you tell me what the minister makes vis-a-vis a public permanent
What does
secretary?
this have to do with the fact that ministers would have reinstated the 10% in a time when persons are even considering, because we had the central bank forum where the governor at the time would have discussed the fact that some public servants have to go home. So what we're trying to discuss
The governor gave his perspective.
He
Hold
gave
on
his
a minute.
perspective.
But let me ask you this way.
Let me see this one.
We opted to take a cut in salary.
Agreed.
A cut in salary. I called the head of the NUPW when this issue came up. I said, Kenny, if we had cut public servant salaries with a commitment that it be reinstated in 19 months, and it was not reinstated in 19 months, what would you do? Shut down the country. I said, if a year more passed, which moves it to 31 months or so, and it was not reinstated, what would you do? Well, his position, he don't represent ministers. But first off, forget about ministers. Ask yourself the question of principle. If you, Crystal, entered an agreement with your employer to have your salary cut by 10% for a fixed period of time, and it was not restored in the time frame, what would you do?
It depends on the circumstances, because
In our case, we said fine. Let it continue another year.
I love this lesson in debating technique, but the rhetorical questions, right? Yeah,
no, there's some people who believe actually that ministers should not be paid.
Oh no,
that
no,
obviously does not make any sense, because no one would be incentivized to be a minister.
There's some people in this country who believe that ministers don't have bills to pay. Some believe that ministers.
Let me bring some levity to this thing. Let me bring some levity to this thing right now.
Because they think we're missing.
No. But it's of course the minister's position to do that.
It's an argument that you will never win and I will never win.
But here's the thing. I think there's one way. I believe in meeting halfway. All you had to do is what the unions have failed to do in this country over and over, which is effectively communicate. Now, I will state this position. I don't care if you guys get back the money or not.
We have not yet received it.
Right, but I don't care if you get it back or not. Because all I know is that if you get it back, more money printing. That's as far as I'm concerned. Not significantly more, but it is more.
That's a very simplistic position
and it
from
has
the
to be.
trained economist.
But no.
You don't give the impression. Do not give the impression that there's some big Xerox machine.
No,
sir.
As a matter of fact, I would challenge you to explain. If you've been following
Jeremy's videos, you would know that he has made it very clear that
many of
printing
those
is
who
not.
have been following Jeremy's video come away with the impression that there's a Xerox machine in Central Bank that prints money. So, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you in very simplistic terms
to
explain what is meant by printing money in an economy.
We
can come back there. You ask the question. No, you ask the questions. I can answer.
But no, I'm glad, and this is how it feels to be a parliament boy. Will never be a politician.
Correct.
So you are a politician, just will not be elected yet. Nothing wrong with that. There'll be time.
Watch it. So we got a 2-minute break here coming up right now. Thanks you guys for tuning in. Remember that you could call in. And since Crystal's really started the ball rolling, and we got the ball really rolling in here, and the minister's really showed his skills in debating, he's 9 years away from, after business, has really served him well. You guys could just add this contact, 825-6536 plus 1246, 825-6536, and we look, as soon as we come back from the break, to take your calls. Crystal, and Target the Minister, a question each to person. Thank you guys.
YouTube partner Reality Weekends presents
What in there? We have an item in there. You tell us what you feel in there.
The all-new live Facebook game show where you can win cash and many different prizes weekly. All you gotta do is guess what's in the box.
First clue, local repairman should have one.
Then call or text the answer to win awesome prizes.
No, it's not a charger. No.
Sorry.
The more people to play, the more fun it gets.
Ooh, we got the call.
She just won herself $50 voucher.
So tell your friends to log on to
WayDidIt.com
and follow the Facebook page where we go live every week. So watch the show this week and guess
what in there. What in there.
Yep.
Good to go.
Do you need amazing aerial footage for your next video production or commercial? Do you need custom sky photos or videos for your real estate properties, music videos, events, or sporting activities? Then 246drones.com is the perfect solution for you. Buy instant downloadable, licensed aerial stock footage or book a custom aerial film package today. Visit us now at www.246drones.com. Services available in Miami and the Caribbean. Hey there! Do you have a business, product, or service that needs promoting? Well, the same way that you're seeing this commercial, thousands of others will too. This could be your business advertising right here. We can create your commercials as well as promote them heavily online. Book your commercial today by visiting www.southpointstudios.com or email us on realityweekends@gmail.com.
Welcome to the Express Bikini Store. Feel good in your swimwear from expressbikini.com. Log on to www.expressbikini.com. Follow us at facebook.com/expressbikini and on Instagram. Feel confident with expressbikini.com. Feel alive. Express Bikini. Love your body. Feel your soul.
Alright, so welcome back, guys, to the show. Now, we invite you to call in, and to that caller that called in earlier, I apologize profusely that we could not take your call. I'm sorry that we couldn't take your question then neither, because on the set, the way we've got this thing working, we couldn't hear you when we went to break. But still, to all the rest of you, I invite you all to call in. And in the meantime, until we get there, if you wanted to start back off with the slights that you were throwing just before.
I know, right?
Yeah, because it was, oh no, we got to call the boy in the nick of time, right? In the nick of time.
You'll be saved by the bell.
Saved by the bell. Good night, good night. Welcome to the price of everything. Oh no, they just dropped off. Was there somebody calling? One more person? All right, good night. How are you?
Good night to everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
To the minister.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for calling the price of everything. What's your question for the minister?
Well, before I get to the question, I would like to make a quick statement to what the minister alluded to earlier with respect to the national perception over the 10% increase. Frankly, as a young person, I was not only disgusted, but I was also stunned at the apparent nonchalance of the entire situation, first of all. Secondly, my question is with regards to the integrity legislation, right? As someone who would have been a member of the said committee that Crystal would have been speaking to earlier, I was generally not satisfied by the way, to me, it seems that at least you were sidestepping the issue. So my question to you here is, with respect to the potential of integrity legislation, do you believe it is A, feasible, and B, with it as a member of said committee, what do you think should be done with respect to that?
Let me ask you a question first and foremost. The issue of the 10% is not an increase in salary, it's a restoration. And I think that we're all smart enough to know the fundamental difference, but we can agree to disagree in terms of the perception and the realities of it going forward. I don't think we need to flog ourselves over that. The question of integrity legislation, let me ask you a simple question. I've said a lot about it here tonight and elsewhere. What are you as a young Barbadian looking for in integrity legislation vis-a-vis your politicians, parliamentarians, public officers, and whatnot?
Well, frankly, I would like transparency in all sense of the imagination, not only with regards to finances or assets, because in my opinion, I personally, frankly, I shouldn't say don't care. I'm not really bothered by the assets you have. Other persons would be, but I'm really concerned with the way in which certain laws are passed within this country, or certain procedures which should be more transparent, which would help governance to go along not only more seamlessly, but provide a holistic view for the entire population and not a selected few.
I would not object. No, it doesn't answer the question, honestly, because you've shifted from transparency, from integrity to transparency. And
transparency does have some insult.
They are closely related. I'm not running away from that. And I'm a firm believer in transparency. I think whatever decisions I make as a minister, ought to be available for anyone to scrutinize, except perhaps if it's some matter of national security at the point in time. We do have the
Fair.
rules in the system as it stands. Now that after a few years, whatever decisions and documents are available there can become available for the public to see. So let us have a conversation about where we are deficient right now.
All right, caller. I just got to be very mindful that other people will be calling in and they can't get into the minister.
I
Sure.
like the caller's question. Don't please.
No, running
offense
him. I just want to be
intended.
minute. Okay.
But it's a kind of conversation where I don't
right.
think I can give you a one-sentence answer or you can give me a one-sentence answer. But it's the kind of conversation we must have. What do we mean when we say we want a higher level of transparency? Where are we at now on the transparency rank? Is it that you want to have access to all the documents pertaining to all of the decisions made involving ministers and public officers? Do you want to have access to the correspondence that flows between public sector and private sector? And if so, within what context? I'm not giving an answer. I'm just seeking to have a conversation because I think a forum like this provides opportunity for me not to just say what I think should happen, but to get good ideas or to get ideas to come from the other side as well.
So then, if I can invite people like the caller, because I know this caller, and if I can invite people like this caller to come to your constituency office, kind sir, I think it's a Thursday where you see people.
No, I see people every day, and I'm available on WhatsApp, emails, whatever. I don't pick no particular day.
And this person I know is very near, very often to your constituency office. And you say well WhatsApp as well, so you're willing to give.
My cell phone number is 836-1583.
All right, you hear that? One more time, 836 what?
836-1583.
All right, hope you guys wrote
And
that
if
down.
I don't answer, feel free to send me a text or WhatsApp. I respond.
But do not spam the minister.
You can spam me
What?
And if you send me something personally, that's all right too.
Jeremy and Connor, I'm going to let the other callers come through.
Yeah,
But
man.
I really look forward to engaging to you on this topic.
He would take that up.
It
I know this
is
caller.
a very serious matter. I think it's one that we will not run away from.
All right, so thank you so much, caller. So, that was actually quite breathtaking. All right, but you see, if this is transparency, the name of transparency, so be it. Chances are that number he gave out is a government phone anyhow. So a government phone number anyhow. It's public asset, right?
It is paid for by the ministry.
All right, so we got one more caller calling in. Hey, good night. Welcome to the Price of Everything, talking to our leaders. What's your question for the minister?
Yeah, good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Core, I was really want to get into a discussion. After my discussion, I'll ask you two questions. But the core problem is I really think is the most important right now for Barbados is our total debt, along with the increasing fiscal deficit and the stagnation in the growth of our foreign exchange reserves, right? So I really wanted to know if the party will ever formulate or implement the effective fiscal policy that we know some of us might highlight that could fix the economy in the short run, in terms of minimizing the civil service, along with the privatization of some inefficient or deficit departments that somehow play a role marginally in the stagnation of the business environment, that seem to have a high level of bureaucracy and hinder growth and investment, etc. And other than that,
Go ahead,
part
caller.
of it was in terms of the foreign reserves. If they'll ever have a serious discussion to be held about diversifying the economy away from tourism, because it could be argued that it has capped in the past couple of years. In terms of suggestions since I am one of Jeremy's students, so I do take some ideas from him.
Well, I bet sure. Mark your heart.
Is Jeremy a good teacher?
Oh God.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's a good teacher.
Hey,
man.
you just get my platform for you. Don't answer the questions about me.
I have to ask.
But go
So,
ahead,
I hear-
go ahead.
Yeah, so I hear Jeremy talking about some things in terms of like getting into logistics, although that's a high level of investment, so that would need to be looked into granularly. But in terms of international business and using our tax code to invite certain companies here that could pay a relatively small fee that could increase our foreign reserves overnight. So I really want to know if there would be a serious discussion in terms of fixing those two problems in terms of the stagnation and the growth of the foreign reserves, and looking at a fiscal policy that will, in the short run, fix the total debt and the fiscal deficit.
Very good question.
Good question. I think that forum like this really ought to also center a bit around the state of the economy in Barbados, because whatever you talk about, there's no doubt about it that certainly in my own life, the average Barbadian does have genuine concerns about the economy, however they define it. And that is a matter that we politicians cannot and must not run away from. And I think when questions are asked, we must give very candid answers. You have obviously, I hope not because of Jeremy's teachings, but through your own experiences raised concerns and uncertainty about the current and projected state of the Barbados economy, issues of stagnation and growth. It raised concerns about the need to further diversify the economy, about the lack of fiscal space, the growing deficit, and the foreign reserves, which undoubtedly is there on everybody's mind today. A couple of quick answers I'll put forward to you. One, I think that the economy is pretty much diversified, but there's still room to grow. Tourism remains the most significant part of the economy, I believe growing net about $1.2 billion per year. But let me also say, like we had a conversation last night in a similar chat room, that the international business and financial services sector is not too far behind at almost $900 million per year contribution to the economy, nearly 4,000 companies, over 4,500 individuals directly employed in the sector, and being a significant net contributor to the Barbados economy, particularly in terms of foreign reserves. I also say to you that our exports to the Caribbean region and further afield is also showing signs of picking back up as well. Not just in terms of the manufacturing sector in specialized and niche areas, but also the services sector. And I really think that if I had to point towards an area of growth for the economy, is that we can do much better in terms of the services sector, that we can really grow it out. We've had, certainly as a government, brought on board the Cultural Industries Act that has really placed a lot of emphasis on the potential for the cultural industries, offering incentives to it as well therein. You've also said it's not just about earning foreign exchange, it's also about saving foreign exchange. And that is why great emphasis has been placed on the renewable energy sector. Because the one exogenous factor in the economy is the fact we cannot control the world price of fuel, fossil fuel, and therefore as a state we have rolled out a suite of incentives, legislative and otherwise, to develop the renewable energy sector going forward. You asked, but you know, there are some short-term issues that have to be addressed. One is efficiencies in the public sector. I'm not going to run away from that. That is a low-hanging fruit that we can all do better on. And I can cite a couple of examples that I've done in my ministry in terms of rollout of technology, for example, in terms of accessing, applying, and such like. Faster decision-making process. For example, when I joined this ministry, there were a whole set of items that you needed a license for. And I said, but why? Why should somebody have to send a broker to my office to apply for an import license for an item that really and truly poses no threat? I really eliminated, actually, I think it's about 33 items from license. Because they were absolutely not necessary. It came with a policy position, only those items that we really felt we needed to protect on the domestic side from competition, or those that were of national security that we can do. Those are the little things that we've done. The international business sector, going the route of the indefinite license, instead of having people trekking to office December 31st, everything, creating the corporate trust and service providers legislation. These are some of the things that we've done to speak to efficiency improvement within the system. I also, though, to add to your question, firmly believe that the public sector is still too large and influential in our society economy. I come down the side that says that there are some fundamental things that the state must retain control over: education and healthcare, in particular law and order, security issues, etc. But you know, as I look around the landscape, I ask myself, do we still need to own any hotels in the country, for example? Do we still need, this be kind of provocative, so I say I'm only asking a question here, I'm not making a statement. Does the government still have to own and control the airport and the seaport, for example? And then there are a whole set of state agencies that have evolved over the years, for whatever reason, political or otherwise, that really and truly need to be merged, amalgamated, as some people say, shut down, or otherwise structured, that will become less of a burden on the state. But you know, these business decisions must be informed by some clear-cut policy. And the policy is to redefine the role of the state in social and economic development in Barbados today. redefine the role of the private sector in social and economic development in Barbados today. And I think once you've gotten these things clear, which is not a year studying, we then start to zero in on the areas of greatest importance in society and the role that the state should play its role. And I also believe, I'm going to end on this point because I know Jeremy and Crystal are chomping at the bits to come in here and chastise me. But I'm also going to say that, part of the solution in the short run lends, for example, in terms of great efficiency at collecting taxes, for example. I've gone on record and said I don't believe in having any more taxes imposed on Barbadians, corporate and individuals.
All right.
We have to do better at the collection of taxes in Barbados. And there are too many Barbadians who are not putting their weight. And I'm sorry to say, it may sound a little harsh, but some of them are going to have to feel the weight of the law if they don't pull their weight.
Well, considering this is a point that I actually agree with you with.
You found one to agree with me, Crystal?
Yes, if you want.
So quickly, I want to use the one of the things that you highlighted just now in terms of like renewable energy I think is approximately like 400 million US we spend in terms of all imports in a given year, right?
Yes, on average.
So in terms of actually getting an actual solar volcanic system set up, I am currently in the, I don't know how to say, but I am currently looking into the actual installation of one, right? And there's still a lot of bureaucracy in terms of the same way I was saying that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the government in terms of there's not a clear cut regulations are saying we using environmental or other factors to define if the project will be approved or not. So there's not full information. So it's like in terms of business, it always seems that it's kind of small game in terms of if something will work or not, and it's time that and it's a lot of things are laws that could affect that actually play an effect in terms of the GDP overall, because when a project does not start, that has some sort of monetary value to the economy.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you're speaking towards about the any inefficiencies in the system that would prohibit a smooth rollout of a renewable energy project. For example, you have a home, you want to install a 5 kVA solar photovoltaic system. You have to apply for a license, perhaps to do that. You want to know you have a faster turnaround or a fast turnaround license. But more importantly, you want to know that there's clarity in the process. Do you need to go to the government electrical engineering department to apply for an inspection? And if you need that, what do you have to do before that? Do you have to apply to the Ministry of Energy for a specific license in order to generate the power? Do you need to get permission from the Fair Trading Commission? What's the relationship with Light and Power as a utility? And you're right. If there's ambiguity as to the process, then individuals can become frustrated, make bad business decisions at the individual level, which then translate into some bad decisions at the macro level as well. So I'm always happy to hear, in spite of the fact that I think we have fundamentally done the right things in these reforms, where are we not getting it right?
Yeah, but that's actually very good contributions. I got an idea who it is now that's called in, and
don't penalize the judge.
No, you probably get an A+, and you don't really get them from me, so a year. So thanks for calling nonetheless, man. Very good contribution, yeah?
Yeah, thanks.
All right, man. Listen, the importance of communication is coming up over and over as a central theme. Like something happened to me recently, right? I was doing a message. I was taking a message on the computer. I was typing to one of my friends on Facebook, one as a singer and whatnot. And I essentially was trying to tell them, well, I found a single from you decades ago that I bought. And I didn't even remember that I had bought it. And I left it open. I said, boy, I am in love with you. You know how about your music, and I can't remember the name of the song. Essentially, that's what he said. Somebody walked behind, saw it, and was like, wait, you in love with that singer? And went off thinking, look, that you had the body. So all I'm telling you is, the whole perception out there is so easy to let optics blind people that it's almost imperative that a government communicates clearly, even in as few words as possible. You see the procedures you just gave that gentleman? I'm quite sure there's no central place that has all of that.
Correct.
I don't know. Maybe there is.
But we should know. That should be on the tip of the tongues of people. Like for instance, I know Kaipo, which would be, let's say, a department within the ministry. They are very clear on what procedures you need to do to sign certain or to do certain things. And I know that I can easily tell somebody, go to Kaipo, and that's it. But for that procedure, the Ministry of Energy, if I go on their website, I'm quite sure that that procedure is not even there right now. So I'm thinking part of a new government, because it's not just the issues I want to look at, you know. It's not just the issues I want to look at. It is the solutions, the practical solutions of how you would build a government that allows us millennials, because I probably only got, 2 more years before I graduate in that sense. Anybody under the age of 35, between 18 and 35 right now. Right? So that's the category.
Yes.
Persons born after 1980, it's 1980 something, whatever it is, 1982.
Yeah.
Right? And persons who would have either been a teenager or born by the year 2000. So we like to participate. Hence why, for instance, you see this 125 you see right here? That's just people that subscribe to his channel.
Yes.
Alright? Then there's also people that subscribe to me. Then there's also people in the social accountability group. You possibly got near 2,000 people watching right now. This is the level. You can't get a political meeting that can pull that much people. And this is what people want to hear.
Including my children friends, so I'm sure they're
watching or
whatever.
Well, if they're watching, then they probably come back and ask you questions, and you got to be more honest with your children, and you need probably to be with us.
Well, I think I'm honest to everybody.
That's a good way to say it. That means we're all your children?
No.
Well, you see, but then you can't really love us that kind of way.
Just want to go back to one of the issues that was brought up in terms of collection, not only of persons who are escaping the tax net, but persons who have outstanding significant sums of money that are owed to government, and the fact that these amounts have been outstanding for several years, even past your time. And the reports that you see gives the impression as though there's very little done to actually go after this money. And you're aware of the amounts, they can help. And instead of seeing some action in terms of collecting these amounts, you see a new tax, and a new tax, and a new tax. And to be honest, the only minister I've even heard publicly speak out about new taxes is yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think the new taxes are being imposed.
Kelman as well, yes.
Don't let me go.
I don't think the new taxes are being imposed, or reimposing new taxes, principally because of any perceived low rate of collection. I don't think that's the case. And any tax that is imposed, one must also, in public finance world, assume a certain percentage of non-collection anyhow. Now, I answer your question by saying two things. One, let us not discount the fact that the state also owes individuals and corporations a sizable amount of money.
Way more than is owed to government.
It's like a cycle that goes around.
Yes.
If the state doesn't pay its bills and pay it on time, that impacts upon the cash flow of businesses in this country.
Agreed.
And if individuals and businesses don't pay their taxes to the state, then the state can't reimburse some who are owed.
Which makes it imperative for you to be able to collect. The last Auditor General's report would have reported at least $708 million in outstanding funds to government, which could help.
But you realize the cyclical issue that
I do understand. But
people recognize that as well.
People need. I'm not blaming. This is one where I do not only blame government, because everybody plays a role in this. The public that just sits down, does not say anything, and the private sector that owes this money and is not coming forward, and then the persons in the private sector who are paying their taxes are punished because then they have to pay a higher tax to make up for this shortfall.
I think part of the solution lies in constant reminding Barbadians of what is done with their taxes. You and I and Jeremy and others in here may be good taxpayers. But you know what annoys me sometimes as an MP or politician is when individuals say, well, you know, why should I pay taxes because the service at the hospital is bad, for example.
And it's bad because you yourself are not paying the taxes.
But then, you know, I will say to individuals who have a certain lifestyle, have you ever stopped to think that if you end up with end-stage renal failure and you end up on dialysis, it's going to cost $4,000 per month for the rest of your natural life to keep you alive?
Right.
And where is that money going to come from? Many of us have never stopped to think, what does it cost just to keep our children in a primary school or secondary school in this country? It is a lot more than what most people pay in taxes on an annual basis. What does it cost to maintain the police force, for example?
I can tell you that straight up right now.
You ought to know. You're a part of it too.
Correct.
But you know, that kind of conversation needs to
Yeah, yeah.
happen. And the other point I was about to make in response to Christian Alex, we had the debate in Parliament recently, amendments to the Barbados Revenue Authority Act that sought to say that you needed a certificate, a tax certificate,
to sell land,
not to sell to dispose of land and whatnot. And then the perception went up there, the argument went up there that the state is stopping a small man from owning a piece of the rock, or it's stopping from selling something. But you know what? Hitherto, before you had the BRA, Land Tax Department, VAT, and all those are separate entities, and left hand did not know what the right hand was doing. Now with the BRA responsible for all of the tax collection acts in the country, they ought to be equipped to know who owes what or who pays what across.
Well, it still comes across as two right hands, though, Minister.
Well, that may be a more administrative and trade union issue, but it really is not that case. So before you have individuals who is disposed of a property, pay the property taxes owed on and pay the transfer tax, get their profits or whatever, and still be left owing a whole set of money in VAT and other taxes. And the system did not allow us to really pursue them. Now we're saying, fine, you owe X amount in VAT. We're not asking to pay all of that, but at least pay 10% of what is owed in those taxes.
Right.
Make arrangements for the payment of the balance, and then we can give you a taxpayer certificate so you can sell your property.
So it's not onerous, as people are saying.
It's no way it's onerous. I know what? The so-called small black man is not caught up in this, Because people politicians like to use this term, the small black man, all the time and whatnot. Sometimes you don't even understand what they're talking about.
Some small Indians on here too, if you're bad.
But maybe. But that act in itself of Parliament and the government is designed to assist in capturing a lot of those who were not paying their fair share of taxes or absconding and not pulling their weight.
So what is the punishment then for persons not only with this situation but in general not paying taxes? Because it feels as though you put on fines, you put on penalties, they ignore those fines and penalties, and what?
You ever see for example, in property taxes, the Land Tax Department periodically would put up people's property for sale and do sell them when you don't pay. The VAT Department has been known, for example, you want to get a contract from certain places, you may need to get your taxpayer certificate. You can't get it unless you pay your taxes. And then, believe you me, the Barbados Revenue Authority and its predecessor agencies have actually been keeping the courts and other people busy going after people's assets to sell their debt. Now, I think here, though, what is missing comes back to a point they keep flogging all the time. Communication. We are not necessarily saying to the public what is being done, what are the penalties, what is the rate of collection, and those kind of things.
Well, so I just wanted to remind viewers, just before I get too caught up in here, you guys can actually call in, remember, +1246 on WhatsApp. WhatsApp call +12468256536. Remember, this isn't a conversation amongst three persons, two persons and a minister. Or
a minister is a person, I hope.
Well, you see, you can't draw me into that.
No,
I am giving you levity, and you wish to distract. It seems like that's the general thing that the LP is doing nowadays. Anyhow, well trained, sir. Now,
I don't be jealous.
You have one of the persons that's commenting on the live feed and saying thanking you for the information because that cleared up a lot of misconceptions they had with regards to the bill.
Exactly. But just also for that same person, instead of sending just on the pages and you want to speak to the minister directly, you might have a lot of bark, but there's no bite at all. Dentures only. +12468256536. Once more, WhatsApp call us. At +24682566536. And for those of you that don't know what we mean by WhatsApp call, add that number to your contacts, go on to WhatsApp and call us. If you guys have the new WhatsApp, I can't even tell you what to do now. I have no idea how to do it.
It's still the same thing.
It's still the same thing. Because a good thing iOS hasn't switched over just yet. Look, before somebody else calls in, I've got this question. And it relates now to my bugbear, which is essentially economic management. Economic management and the communication of said economic management. Now, I would say in front of thousands of people, and it may carry or may not carry, I actually have no issue with the concept of money printing. It happens. When I worked at the central bank, it used to happen. This is 2005, 2006. But it was so small, and government, it was so small. And you had, of course, you had certain hiding of accounting issues. Like you had off-balance sheet leases and all that stuff that have come to book and caused issues nonetheless in terms of debts due. Okay? So I have no issue with it. What I have an issue with is the fact that people haven't been communicated to proficiently or efficiently or sufficiently. But we've got a call coming in on WhatsApp right now. Sorry about that, but we'll get back to it. Good. Oh Lord, it just dropped off. Anybody else can call right again. And yes, to the caller that sent in a message, the calls are by WhatsApp and not regular line, okay? WhatsApp calls, so via WhatsApp. So it dropped off. Let me step back. The country went into panic when, and I'm not wearing my economics hat tonight, I'm wearing one of a citizen. The country went into panic when the governor of the central bank said $50 million a month. You know, it's an overdraft facility because the minister did challenge me to explain. It's an overdraft. There's no bills created, nothing. That is essentially an overdraft. It says, well, you know, the Central Bank of Barbados is good to meet certain debts. So the commercial banks can then honor whatever, right? The commercial banks then can pay people. Most of our cash, and I need to remind people of this, most of our money in this society is quite digital. So it's just the central bank saying, well, look, I'm ready to honor this thing. Go ahead. That's what money printing is, in a sense. But the dire effect would be that you've got a government, and you recognized earlier, or I hope everybody here recognizes that the minister said that he thinks the public service is too big. Whatever that means in terms of function versus form. When I say form, I'm talking about government employees. Whatever that means, the point is the civil service as a whole needs to be smaller in some function or form.
Of course, I stress that you reduce the public sector as you increase the size of the private sector.
Right, so you hope that persons can be, and that's actually a bugbear. I saw something today.
Some person have made a suggestion that you can make the ministry at the top smaller.
Oh, geez.
So
you mean less ministers?
There you go. Set the example if you want to.
Well, you know, that sets the example. It really doesn't have a significant effect on the system.
Oh, boy. In terms of decision making, kind sir?
Yeah,
in terms of decision making?
And grass cutters. That
you know, no,
okay.
Crystal, I think that is not true at all.
Okay.
There again, you know, it is a matter of just doing things for PR exercise. I think we need to really look at some substantive issues here
right.
across the board.
Right, but
you're going, yours.
Yeah, no, but you can even get back there. But my point being, all right, is that the government should have. I don't care if it's the prime minister. It's not my place, ironically, right now to call on him. But and in the very least, the minister of finance should have come out very early on, especially after the $50 million talk, and start to allay fears. Right now, it's not even an issue of disregarding people's fears, but more so showing empathy.
Now, would you admit that the printing of monies, as they call it in economic context, is nothing new to Barbados?
Oh, no, it's happened several times. It's happened on the OM.
He said it happened in 2000.
No, but I wanted him to repeat it.
Yeah, but it's happened. But now you've got a situation, sir.
But the comparison between the money printing back then and now is so different.
But not even, you can't, no, I don't think it's different except in one area. The intensity.
That's what I'm referring to.
Intensity given that government itself has issues. You've had since 2009 the fact that you have accrual accounting in government. So therefore a lot more debts were brought to book. You can't afford certain government guarantees anymore.
No.
All right? You've got the case where at least taxation is not enough to cover government expenditure, or never really was nearly, but since 2008 you get a widening of the deficit simply because there was a softening in the economy. All right?
Let me ask a question. To what extent was the bring to books previously on
no, that was major.
Impact upon it? Because it's a significant point, and this is where
major.
I think we ought to take off our partisan political hats and look at these matters objectively and learn from the lessons.
Yeah. It was major.
Previously, you had an administration that created several entities, did many things, as I said, off the books. But there were still debts or liabilities due by the state. And when this administration decided we're going to change that system of accounting and bring them all to book, then it appears on the government's balance sheet now for all to see
When you say
what the
this
truth.
administration, who you're referring to?
He's
The
not
one
with
that
the
I'm part of, the
Yeah, no,
Democratic Party.
the DLP.
No, I
brought
mean,
in-
to be frank,
they brought in the
the
book.
Barista Party created major debt that was not reflected on the balance sheet
Yeah.
of the state at
It
the
wasn't.
point in time.
Remember this
I
discussion
know
you
have
yeah.
discussion
When
many
the,
times.
when the Democratic Party came in, we said, no, this is not right. We need to see what is the true picture. So those debts were bought to book, but obviously then related to issues of what the real deficit would be,
Exactly.
how it's financed. No, let us not play the blame game. It is what it is, or it was what it was.
All right.
The issue is how do we fix that problem? And you have to admit that the Minister of Finance has been very consistent in saying that the printing of money or the central bank financing a government operation is not a sustainable mechanism.
Agree.
Therefore, we need to reduce the level of transfers to state agencies, for example. And we've cut across the board the level of transfer to many state agencies. You have no idea of the amount of wastage that could take place in
Oh,
some
yeah.
state
Oh
agencies.
no, but
We do.
all right. So to declare my hand, I don't even
Um,
remember if you know when it was probably discussed in cabinet, but I'm part of the oversight committee, so trust me, I'm extremely aware of that
So we have
wastage.
attended cabinet meetings.
Well, oh Lord, what are you trying to do to me here now?
Go ahead.
I was not in the cabinet meeting when that was decided upon me, when that was decided for me. But just to declare the hand, I can sympathize and empathize. Hence why, when it comes to the whole issue of debt management, my thing has always been, all right, I understand the need to reduce transfers, but you cannot look at it, or even wages, but you can't look at those things in isolation. You have to also look at the cost of financing, because if it is that the private sector, ably represented by commercial banks, have decided to cut back on the amount of funding that they give to government aid. Because I heard stories today about even one of the commercial banks pulling back even further. Then I believe that it's important that the government looks at solutions all across the board. But we've got one WhatsApp caller calling in. Hi, good night to you. Thanks for calling the price of everything.
Hi, good night.
Hey, what's up?
Good night to all.
Good night.
Good night.
Right, my question is
Go ahead.
term and the medium term to either curb its spending or increase its revenue.
To
You got that
promote
question?
growth.
Is there a formulated plan, something that they can tell us that they have in writing? Hey, this is what they're going to do in terms of the economy. We're going to cut spending. We are going to increase income by doing this, by doing A, by doing B.
What's the growth strategy?
Yeah, but the growth strategy for years is whether that growth strategy is still applicable.
What's the new growth strategy?
No, but there has to be a new, as the lady said, there has to be a new strategy
Right.
in light of the economy and where it's going.
Well, call it. I have to ask you to mute your computer because we're getting feedback here in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you could do that for us, thank you so much, sir. Right, so he just cut off.
No,
All right, but go ahead,
good
yeah.
questions, and I answer them as best as I can quickly. One, I think in terms of the growth strategy, we've identified the main areas that we believe we can get some quick wins on. One is the tourism sector, and we've already seen that through the efforts of Minister Sini and his team, we've been able to get the highest level of arrivals in Barbados in 2016. And I saw a report today in terms of the spend as well that seems to be inching up therein. And we've also decided that we had to invest more in a tourism plant. And that's why the state, for example, has said, look, we're doing the Old Sam Lord's Castle, which is the Wyndham project, and we've approved for the Hyatt project to get going as well. And there's several other hotel plants that are being refurbished or graded to meet that capacity, along with efforts on to increase the range of the tourism product that's available. In the international business and financial services sector, which is also a quick fix, we have certainly seen that our numbers of entities licensed in Barbados in 2016 over 2015 have increased by 13%. And that is through the efforts that we made in terms of rolling out new products to the industry, striving for better business efficiencies across the board. Now, where do we go from here in that sector? For example, we are aggressively going into the marketplace in the UK. For example, now in the next 2 weeks, we have a mission there. the missions on going into Canada, Colombia, Mexico, and some other non-traditional markets. Our BIBA partners, International Business Association partners, are working with us to roll out a new suite of products. And these are not things that would take a year or 2 years to see the benefits of. These are things that benefits start to come about in a few months, for example. Certainly in my end, I've given the mandate as early last year that we have to increase the exports of goods and services in Barbados by 10% per annum going forward. We mounted missions into Ghana, St. Lucia, Grenada, and other regions. I know we're looking at one up north now as well. And already we're seeing an increase in the exports of goods from Barbados in some key sectors as well. I think those capture some of the short and medium term things that we're going. On the expenditure cut side, the Minister of Finance and RCM keeps saying we have to cut across the board. So I can tell you that each minister, each permanent secretary, each accounting officer continues to use the scalpel to cut out what is not necessary. Travel expenses have been reduced. We've seen, for example, with our telephone system across the entire public sector, we've deployed the latest in technology. Before we were spending thousands of dollars in like a small ministry like mine on telephone costs. And by using more modern services, IP phones now, we have been able to reduce government's expenditure on telecommunications by a great amount. I think also on the expenditure side, as I mentioned earlier, we have to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of streamlining some of the state agencies. The transfers to state agencies continues to be a major challenge. And going back to Crystal's point, and Crystal, please don't think I was unduly harsh on you. I actually like your tone and your sincerity and patriotism, because accountability and transparency is not just for politicians. If we don't adhere to the same standards and principles for chairmen of boards, directors, for the CEOs and the staff in some of these state agencies, we're going to continue to be spinning top in mud. And that's why, for example, I've said, and my colleagues have said, annual reports of state agencies must be done and done on time. And when they're not being done on time, people must be held accountable.
The NIS especially is probably the worst example.
Exactly, but this is the problem. What happens when they're not accountable?
And then it leads me to, like a guy like me, to even believe or tell millennials that you shouldn't even look for a public pension by the time we get to 60, because there's no expenses that have overtaken revenue within the NIS generally. But yet then you hear different stories.
I think
hold this one. We got a caller. Hold this one. Hi, good night. Sorry for being so long. Welcome to the Price of Everything. You are online with the minister.
Oh, thanks very much. I wanted to call in to jump on a point because we were discussing transfers and stuff like that. And I think we have to make it a little broader, because if we look at systems of the country like transport, we have a completely unsustainable transport system. We don't pay the cost of transport. It's not borne by people who use the buses or anything. So government now owns the buses. You have to subsidize the cost of the bus. You have to subsidize the people traveling on the bus. The whole system is managed by the government, and it cannot work. It's carrying an entire rate of the economic system moving people. That cannot work. Please restructure. That's one area that needs restructuring. A few years ago, so this solar.
All right, sorry, caller. You need to get your signal. Yeah, it's gotten. So caller, sorry. If you want, you can call back in, but you need to change where you are because your signal is dropping a lot. So sorry about that. All right. Well, if you want to address the call, and then you could address me.
Well, I think the caller is stating a fact there, in that the public transportation system in Barbados is heavily subsidized by the state. And it can go back to an earlier point that we were alluding to. What are the areas that the state must be involved in? Now, if we were to really charge Barbadians the economic rate of an efficient public transportation system, it perhaps would be $5 per ride as opposed to what it is now. And how many Barbadians can afford that? what will be the immediate impact upon private enterprise and state services, for example. So something that we say, well, good, we have to subsidize it. Of course, we also must say the same vein that it has to be as efficient as possible.
I think the same caller's calling about.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, sorry. Let me just be sure. Good night, good night. Is this the same caller as before? No, it's not actually.
No,
Good night, good night. Sorry, you can state your question. Sorry about that. But go ahead. Thanks for calling.
No, it's a different caller actually.
Yeah, I realize.
I'm just asking Minister, good night everyone. Asking Minister, what does he sign integrity legislation or anti-corruption legislation then? Basically, he was talking about transparency, etc. And then the next question I would have for him, under his time as the Minister of International Business, IBC, lots of IBCs have left. Can you tell us why, or what new legislation, would he like to implement? Why hasn't he implemented legislation? Basically to attract new companies. Why has he not done any new incentives? Why are we so far behind? And, those are some of the questions that I would like to pose to him.
All right, good. Good, very good question. But the last one you answered is actually a complete untruth. You said that lots of IBCs have left Barbados. I can say to you that as at December 31st, 2016, we had just over 3,900 licensed entities in the international business sector as regulated by the International Business Division on our books, compared with 3,444 thereabouts for 2015. So the evidence is there that there has been no mass exodus.
From 2015 to 2016, I'm looking at a trend from 2008.
No, even when I look at even when I look at the trend,
and the revenue also aspect of it. That's why I would like you to focus on.
And if you want, you can always send me your email. Just a matter of fact, I'm just going to put them all out there in the public domain again, which is in public space, so that we can put aside these half truths about the numbers. But we cannot measure the international business sector just by licensed entities. Obviously, you're someone who has a sense of familiarity with the sector, and therefore you'd appreciate that in the dynamics of the industry these days, more and more entities are just forming as regular Barbados companies for the purpose of engaging in international business. That's why I said in another forum yesterday that the ministry, as recent as last Friday, met with all stakeholders, including International Business Association, Central Bank, and others, and said, look, we have to have a better system to define and measure the contribution of the international business sector to the Barbados economy. But I can safely say from where I sit that there has not been a decline in the sector at all. As a matter of fact, there's been growth. You ask the question as to what is it that we've been doing? A whole set of new products has been added to the mix in recent years. We've had international trust entities. We've made some changes to Society Restricted Liabilities, the Incorporated Cell Company legislation, the Foundations Legislation Act is there on the statute books. So a whole new set of products have been added to make it doable. Beyond that, we've also instituted the Corporate Trust and Service Providers legislation to make it a little easier for those who do business in jurisdiction without compromising on the regulation in the sector. The Global Forum has upgraded Barbados from being partially compliant to largely compliant, which speaks to reputation enhancement as well. And I just mentioned a couple of the roadshows and promotional activities that have to be done. Of course, the beauty about the international business sector is that the marketing, by and large, is driven by the private sector. And they are very much upbeat and indeed a very strong partner to the ministry going forward.
All right.
I think you asked an earlier question. Now, I thought so much it may have slipped me a bit, but feel free to ask me again.
Legislation. Why didn't you sign it, or why didn't the BLP, sign it? That's what you run on in 2007, 2008. And the BLP wanted to sign that.
Well, we spoke about that.
We spoke about that earlier, and I think no, it's a good point though. But just to be benefit for others, Jeremy, I think what we ought to do is arm ourselves with copies of any draft legislation that talks about integrity and corruption of public officials and those kind of things, and put them out there. Let members comment on them. Because I come down the side, and this is perhaps 2020 hindsight, that we actually do have quite a bit of legislation on the books right now that address some of the concerns.
Right.
we may need to ask if they're there, are they being used or not being used? I can tell you of public officers who've been fired from the public service since I've been a minister because of acts that they committed that contravene the laws of Barbados in relation to their performance as a public officer.
Right.
But you don't hear these things in the public domain.
Exactly, but
And perhaps what you want is a periodic report as to who has been jailed, who has been fired for dipping their hands in the kitty.
the same way the NIS had the funds, ironically, to name and shame a bunch of defaulters about a year and some ago. I think that should be a standard practice even for people within government going forward. I honestly think so. Just like how some people are named and shamed in the court pages, why not take out a section of the newspaper?
Well, that reminds me of another point, because I went to the Holtown court this morning to observe how liquor licensing regime is administered in the court system for myself. Since we're making some changes, I want to see, but I also gave me the chance to look at some people being brought before the court. I know you read the newspaper every day and you see pictures of individuals who have been accused, not necessarily found guilty. And it begs the question, are we doing the right thing in terms of naming and shaming individuals who've just been accused as opposed to found guilty? But that's perhaps a more social issue that we can talk about in another forum.
It's great. But callers, thank you so much for your questions, and I want to hear more from you as well.
Jeremy.
All right, man, no problems. Thank you so much. Yes, that's past it, Minister One. Sorry about that.
There's water, by the way.
Well, if you call for rum, then this has been a very good conversation.
That's definitely not me.
Well, look, somebody passed a question there that I found to be interesting, and I'm going to quote it in a way that doesn't compromise you, okay? So, again, this comes back to the whole issue of communication. If you were, let's say, Prime Minister, some years down the line, what is your view on your responsibility to communicate major issues or major developments to the country as often as you can? And what benefits do you see generally from taking such an action?
The same position I have now that I'm just an ordinary minister. I think that communication is very critical. And from the political perspective, you have to get your message across. It amazes me that when we want to win our seats,
You're
we take
knocking
to
down
the
people's
platform,
doors.
we knock down doors. You don't miss a chance to be in the public domain making a statement. You're on the platform every night, sometimes 3 and 4 meetings, and then you become a minister.
We got somebody calling from I think it's the United States. We got a foreign call. Hey, welcome to the Price of Everything. Thanks for joining us. You're here with Donville, Inniss. You may want to mute your mic as well, sir.
This is from Canada, sir.
Yeah, just mute your mic there. Mute your computer as well.
Pardon me?
Mute your computer as well.
You get feedback.
Yeah, we're getting feedback.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So please ask a question. We all can hear you.
My question to the minister is,
Ooh, and it cut off.
Don't listen to yourself. Oh, yeah.
No, just cut off. I'll call him back. It just says unable. So it seems weird. I'll call him back, to be fair. And for those of you that I missed, I'm so sorry that I missed you earlier. I saw someone from Alberta, Canada call in. Thank you so much for your persistence, and I'm sorry I missed you. I'm quite sure the minister would have loved to speak to someone from Alberta, Canada. That's where
a lot of up there.
Yeah, and a lot of international business opportunities.
Yeah.
All right, so we're missing that caller right now. I'm so sorry about that, sir. Well, in the meantime, another thing. In terms of alternative industries going forward, we speak of international business. I love international business. One of my students reviewed my love of logistics. You would have heard from years ago my love of logistics as well, right, as a way of taking the country forward. But one that I think that can solve a lot of issues, particularly with respect to education and funding education, is the whole area of hemp and marijuana. And I know that the government, or cabinet's collective response, I should say, is one that's not pro-examining this industry going forward. But is there some indication, I believe, or inclination in the future that this might be worth some consideration? Hemp products, byproducts?
Yes.
And then marijuana. We got another call on the line here with Canadians. So think about that one, and we can only take one more call after this. We just missed them. They're cutting out.
You know, my
Because there are lots of hemp products. You have hemp milk, hemp materials.
Yes. Hi, good night, sir. You may want to mute your mic. Thanks for calling from Alberta, Canada. If you are indeed there, nonetheless, it's good to have international audiences in the house. You're speaking with Donville Inniss. Go ahead.
Hi, sir. As you brought up the point on the legalization of hemp, cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, I know there's concerns and there's a belief among older generation that this will have an impact on people's mental state and whatnot. There's tons of research to show that these things are fallacies, that the correlation arguments that are made are not causation arguments. And I'm wondering at what point in time will this generation that precedes us, start looking for different alternatives to generate revenue, not necessarily from a exportation of marijuana, to subsidize, but something that would support tourism in that this is a product that is legal in Barbados that can attract individuals that are not necessarily violent, because there's nothing that will show that individuals that smoke weed are violent, but anything that helps boost our tourism product before others take advantage of these scenarios.
Caller, one of the good things about having children is that you get to stay in touch with the younger generation. And it's a very good question that both yourself and Jeremy have asked, because I had an unsolicited conversation with my oldest son a few months ago, who said to me, Dad, to get Barbados out of its economic mess, why don't you guys consider growing hemp? And I was taken aback, and my first reaction is, are you smoking pot? No, I'm being honest with you. That's my first reaction as a father. Until the smart guy sent me a long written discourse about the economic value of hemp.
Correct.
And dispelling the thought of the negative health consequences. And I must say that forced me to start to think a little bit and have a lot more open mind. And I've come to the point where I say that Barbadians, we need to open our minds and look at the value that some of these products can add to our landscape. Yeah. We need to do much more research and development on the medicinal purposes of marijuana.
But the research and development has already been done.
We are usually importing other people's ideas and products. And I say we need to start doing these things from right here in Little Barbados and see the world as a marketplace. Sorry, sir.
Go ahead. Intervening. Yeah, go ahead, caller.
And sir, to add to that, right, is that the problem is that we're only thinking about the use of marijuana as its own plant. Exactly. But the thing is that you have a lot of individuals in Barbados that if they're growing weed, I guess it's illegal. But if they're doing it because there's weed in Barbados, we know that. If they're growing weed, that means that they're skilled botanists. It is not a plant that's easy to grow. So why is it that government doesn't use this as an incentive to boost our agricultural sector? So that you have a bundle of people that are right now committing an illegal act, but you could get them to help boost a sector that needs growth, that needs something to spark the interest in the agricultural sector again. You have a bunch of people claiming to be rastas, claiming that they got to till the soil. But why is it that we're not saying, you know what, if you are going to put your hand in soil to help grow something, why not say legalize marijuana and then force people to say that you have to grow other fruits and vegetables? This stuff can support this will help boost the agriculture sector, reduce the reliance on import, and then you just force the hotel sector to have to purchase locally before they can import products. All of these are things that you guys can do, and I know that I'm not going to come into this with a partisan mindset, because I think the problem is age. I think the problem is a generation that lacks any innovation, a generation that lacks any forward thinking, and that is why we have our concerns about a lack of vision for when we get older. When we get older, what are we going to rely on? If y'all continue down this road where y'all ignore these things because it was never done before, right? When are we going to change that mindset in Barbados?
Right. But
what are you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
No, you go ahead. You finish your point.
What are the government, any 5 of the political parties that are coming up. You know, what is anybody in your generation going to do that is different to help spur an interest, one, in politics for young people, because you're losing them, and two, to actual growth, so we got something to inherit when you guys pass away.
You know, as a young man entering politics, I didn't wait on any magic man or anybody. I felt that I had a voice that I wanted others to hear, that I had opinions. I felt that there were some old people who had some very old-fashioned views that needed to change. And I'm sure my children and young people perhaps think the same way I do. I would say to you, caller, that there's a fundamental challenge we have in this society, which is that there are just too many closed-minded people in key positions in Barbados who are not prepared to think outside of the box. And quite frankly, a number of them can be found in Parliament on a Tuesday. You know, and we're still a little hard sometimes, but if we don't open our minds, if we don't start becoming more receptive to other ideas, if we don't start dismissing things. I served as Minister of Health for 5 years, and I've seen the ravages and the harmful effects of abuse of substances. But you know what? I've also come to realize that excessive use of alcohol is just as dangerous as the excessive use of marijuana. And it begs the question if in Barbados we must not just have a conversation, but start moving towards the direction of decriminalization of marijuana. I don't think it's going to create a bunch of zombies around, but you know what? 10 years ago I thought that way. I think that University of the West Indies must be allowed to grow or import marijuana for their research purposes. You know, why should we be buying medicines that are developed by white people in Europe that may not even be perfect for us in the Caribbean, where we can challenge our young people to do the research, to be innovative, to own the intellectual property. It could be manufactured anywhere in the world, but you know what? The benefits are going to accrue to Barbados. So I would admit to you that at the age of 51, I've come full circle. I've listened to my children, I've listened to their friends, I've listened to young people. And my mind today is far more open than many of these things than they were before. And if hemp offers opportunity, we must not do things though out of desperation. We must not do things because we think the economy is bad, because then they'll be done in a rather irrational manner. But if the evidence is there that some of these items do offer great hope for a stronger, more sustainable economy, I say let us be bold and take them on.
Yes, and that's a good way to end the call there, caller. That's very good. I hope we can get you tomorrow. Just want to remind people that tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we're having UPP chair, Lynette Eastman, sitting as well in the hot seat, asking similar questions and being able to get to see what relevance not only their party but alternative parties have to the political process going forward. And thank you again for calling in, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Good night. Good night. So I just want to end on this note because we've gone slightly over. Yeah, we've gone slightly over our time as well too. And I just need to keep. We've got to be very, very conscious of the fact that you had all kind of activities today, and we really appreciate. I'm quite sure even Crystal and the thousands of people.
The night is yet young.
Well, I'm quite sure that if you guys see the minister out, he said the night is young, you could ask him to expound on issues that he would have discussed very ably, and I would say it's been a very good pleasure having you along with Crystal and the rest of the support crew, Billy June in the room, and also Reza Milan, Richie. And I just wanted to end on this note. If there are any key takeaways that nearly 2,000 people right now who are on could take, and all varying ages, but mainly millennials could take from you in terms of expecting from you what we can see in the future?
It would be that, yes, we have our challenges in Barbados. Some of them of our own making, some are exogenous factors. But you know what? Together, once we are open-minded and determined to get things better, we can make it happen. Young and old, white and black, this is our island, and we must all get on board and pull it around.
All right, well, that's very good. Any words, Crystal? You have any parting words for the audience?
I just appreciate the fact that you started the ball rolling. The LP has taken a lot of hits, and especially in terms of communication, I do appreciate that you came out as a minister representative for the DLP to come and clarify a lot of issues and concerns that persons would have had.
You know, and I was especially very, very nervous when I called him because I haven't heard him for months. Saw him outside the bank some months ago. I thought he was on the bad list because of this thing revolving over the last hurricane. He had this little interaction to the paper. But that's what democratic societies are all about. We don't have to agree on everything, and the whole point behind this series is just to show you that you have to and you can engage politicians.
Even if you don't agree with everything.
And you don't have to agree, and I'm quite sure, I would hope that our democracy matures enough over the next year where we can have the discussions without being acrimonious or overly aggressive, because we need each other. There's only 250,000 of us. We are not that big, nor are we small on character. So thank you for visiting this first episode of The Price of Everything, talking to our leaders. Number one, and tomorrow again at 6 p.m. we have Lynette Eastman, chair of the UPP, sitting in the hot seat having discussions, and maybe we would roll off of what we had here to see what she can counteract with. Democracy is it. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
YouTube partner Reality Weekends presents
What in there? We have an item in there. You tell us what you feel in there.
The all-new live Facebook game show where you can win cash and many different prizes weekly. All you gotta do is guess what's in the box.
First clue, local repairman should have one.
Then call or text the answer to win awesome prizes.
No, it's not a charger. No.
Sorry.
The more people to play, the more fun it gets.
Ooh, we got the call.
She just won herself $50 voucher.
So tell your friends to log on to
WayDidIt.com
and follow the Facebook page where we go live every week. So watch the show this week and guess
what it did. What it did.
Yep. Good to go. Do you need amazing aerial footage for your next video production or commercial? Do you need custom sky photos or videos for your real estate properties, music videos, events, or sporting activities? Then 246drones.com is the perfect solution for you. Buy instant downloadable, licensed aerial stock footage or book a custom aerial film package today. Visit us now at www.246drones.com. Services available in Miami and the Caribbean. Hey there, do you have a business, product, or service that needs promoting? Well, the same way that you're seeing this commercial, thousands of others will too. This could be your business advertising right here. We can create your commercials as well as promote them heavily online. Book your commercial today by visiting www.southpointstudios.com or email us on realityweekends@gmail.com.
Welcome to the Express Bikini Store. Feel good in your swimwear from expressbikini.com. Log on to www.expressbikini.com. Follow us at facebook.com/expressbikini and on Instagram. Feel confident with expressbikini.com.